Welcome back to Andrew Plays Cities channel. This is the Sunday City Skylines, and today I brought you some special content. Surely it has happened to you as well that you were building your city enthusiastically, everything started well, and then something went wrong. The cityscape no longer looked as beautiful as you imagined it. And this happens more often in City Skylines 1 and 2 than we think, especially if someone plays quite tired or simply cannot find enough inspiration for building. In this video, I will show you step by step how to fix a ruined city, so that from chaos a harmonious and livable city can be born again. The biggest enemy of the cityscape is often not the bad road planning or the poorly functioning service, but simply overdensity. This is especially true for high-density residential buildings and commercial zones. With these, the cityscape can very easily lose its balance, and we end up with a crowded and disorganized visual impression. However, this is not only an aesthetic problem. Excessive density can cause serious traffic jams, supply difficulties and noise pollution, which over time can overload the healthcare system as well as the city's budgets. At a certain point, not only the appearance falls apart, but the functioning of the city as well. In today's Sunday video, I will show 10 tips and tricks on how to repair an already ruined cityscape, so that from overcrowding a more organized, livable and modern city can emerge again. This is Andrew Plays Cities and Sunday City Skylines. Let's dive in. To do this, I will revisit one of my cities built in 2018, Forest Hill, and we will see how we can breathe a new life into this city in 2025 with modern DLCs and content creator packs. This will work in such a way that I cut together the more interesting moments from several hours of city building, and I put this into a more time-lapse-like format, and in this video I will give tips on how to fix certain ruined parts of a city. I will also display the tips on the screen, and at least you will see the full rebuilding process, which I will continue later, because even 3 hours were not enough to completely rebuild this city. Let's get started. My first tip is reallocating the zones. Most cities go wrong when zoning becomes chaotic, buildings do not fit together, or huge empty patches remain between them, make the whole city look awkward. In such cases, do not be afraid to rezone. Break large continuous parcels into smaller units. This makes the streetscape much more varied. It is also worth thinking through district by district what you want to see there. A modern center, a family-friendly residential area, or a lively commercial district. The more tasteful different zones are mixed, the more natural the overall impression will be, and the city will breathe instead of looking blocky and cramped. My second tip is very straightforward: trees and parks. Green areas are practically a secret weapon when it comes to building an aesthetic city. Even a single tree line or a small park can completely transform a busy roadside neighborhood. If previous developments were too close to the main roads, the noise level has surely increased, and residents will immediately notice this. They will show a small icon above their house, and sooner or later you will have to deal with hospitalizations due to noise pollution. So plant trees in noise protection strips or create small green zones between buildings. Parks help increase citizen satisfaction, raise property values, and reduce stress. But be careful not to overdo the number of parks. If every district has too many parks, the maintenance cost will rise significantly, and this will slowly and quietly drain your city's budget. The goal is to place just enough parks to make the city livable. Fill the rest with trees and bushes, because these only cost a small one-time placement cost and have no maintenance cost. Now, City Skylines in 2025 is a very different game compared to what it was 3 or 4 years ago. This city here, Forest Hill, the one I am rebuilding in this video, is actually 7 years old, which means that when I originally built it, a lot of the DLCs and content creator packs we have today simply did not exist yet. For example, Park Life only came out in 2018. Since then, so many new packs and building styles have been added that the game's visual language has completely changed. So, if you started your city somewhere around 2016 to 18, like I did, those old vanilla buildings and even the early DLC buildings might now look a bit outdated compared to the newer assets. And that's exactly why some neighborhoods feel off. They simply belong to a different era of the game. This is exactly why it is worth refreshing the district style. The modern glass buildings in the Green City spec fit very well in dense downtown areas. However, Green Cities is a 2017 expansion, but if you want something even more recent, then I recommend Emerging Downtown. This is what I am mainly using here in this video. It is perfect if you want a real metropolitan atmosphere. In the suburbs, however, it is worth using the brick red residential buildings from Brooklyn and Queens. And if you want full control over what you place, then use the Plop the Grovable mode and the Find It mode. With Find It, you can search for and browse the buildings, and with Plop the Grovable mode, you can place zone buildings manually, just like you would place a park or a police station in the game. This way you can put them exactly where you want. You can create residential blocks and parcels in any form you like. And with this you gain full control over what you and how you building. My fourth tip is the use of small spaces. Not every part of the city will need new buildings. Often it is exactly the empty, irregular shaped spaces that will give the city its uniqueness. With the so-called decal elements, pavements, tiles, benches, statues, you can bring these little corners to life. You will already find many useful decal elements in the Park Life expansion, but the ones that really look good and really give a modern and unique style to a district or a city are the ones found in the plazas and promenades pack. A few well-placed pieces of street furniture, a fountain or a small plaza will immediately break the monotony. However, make sure that these spaces are not too large. Generally, anything from 1 tile up to a 3x3 tile area is ideal for placing decals. Larger empty plazas can look unnatural unless you are specifically designing a major city center. In that case, use several types of decal elements to make the design more realistic. With just a little extra effort, you can create much more beautiful and livable areas. My fifth tip is pedestrian paths and pedestrian streets. One of the most important characteristics of any city is walkability, meaning how easily people can move around. Pedestrian paths and streets will not only make the area look more organized visually, but they also reduce car traffic. If you draw pedestrian paths between buildings, people will not have to walk long detours and they can cross through blocks more easily. If you have enough space, create a pedestrian district which will not only increase tourism but also improve the atmosphere and appearance of the area. And here is a small trick. Pedestrian streets are not only for pedestrian districts, they work well as extension of pedestrian paths or as more aesthetic walkways, as long as there are no buildings directly next to them. Pedestrian districts and pedestrian streets are available in the plazas and promenade spec. If there are buildings next to them, then a pedestrian district is required. But if there are no buildings, they work very well as standalone walkways. And this will make your city structure much more organic and natural. My sixth tip, which I already mentioned earlier, is manual building placement. If you enjoy precise city building, this will definitely be your favorite part of the game, or as I sometimes say, if you enjoy Minecraft style building. Okay, it's not as complex as Minecraft, but here we are talking about placing buildings one by one. For this, you will need the Find It mode and the Plot the Growable mode. With Find It, you can search and filter buildings. With the Plot the Growable mode, you can manually place zoned buildings just like a park or a police station. This allows you to place them exactly where you want. You can shape residential blocks and parcels in any form. And with this, you get full control over what and how you build. This allows you to create your own downtown, unique districts, or even theme streets. By the way, there are several packs where this is practically the only way to build nicely. For example, Hearts of Korea, because Korean buildings will not look good unless you place them manually, and also the same applies to the financial district modern buildings, so here too it is worth placing them one by one. One important advice: if you did not set Make Historical by default in your mod settings, then you will have to mark each building manually. So it is worth enabling Make Historical in the Plot the Growable options, so buildings remain even if something triggers their removal. Also, make sure to zone the area anyway, so the building remains active even if it is technically plopped. Definitely, this type of manual building is time consuming, but the result is absolutely worth it. This is the way that how you create the really unique and realistic districts. My seventh tip is dealing with strange corners and hard to build plots. We all know that the moment when there is a remaining 2x1, 2x3 or some completely irregular, oddly shaped piece of land that we simply do not know what to do with. In this case, do not try to force a building there because it will only make the whole area look worse. Instead, think about decorating it with a tree or statue or a bench or even a small fountain. It will fit much better than a randomly placed residential building. These odd-shaped lots can also be used as a transition spaces, for example, to connect a pedestrian path or to place a small park. This makes the city feel much more natural and not like a perfectly drawn artificial map. And this is exactly where City Skylines shows its real strength, that you can creatively integrate imperfections into the structure of the city. I have already used it many of my cities in City Skylines 1 and 2, but I cannot emphasize it enough that heterogeneous building is very useful in City Skylines as well. In real cities, buildings are never all identical, so do not be afraid to mix them. Next to a 4x4 residential buildings, you can easily place a 2x3 shop or even a small parking lot. Variety brings life to the city. In City Skylines 2, this is easier because there is a medium density zone. Here in City Skylines 1, you can only choose between low density and high density building, but there are still transitions. For example, the Hearts of Korea residential buildings look almost like medium density housing, even though they are technically listed under low density. So in the first City Skylines, we need to experiment to discover what combinations look good. If we mix the zone well, the city will look much more realistic, but it's important to pay attention to architectural style. Do not mix completely different architectural directions on the same street. For a European district, use European buildings. For an American district, use American style buildings. Of course, there are exceptions. For example, the African in miniature pack buildings can be placed freely as small shops. Just like in City Skylines 2, I sometimes use the Dragon Gate content creator pack buildings. So if there is even a little consistency, it always helps to make the cityscape much better. My 9th tip is placing unique building. If something truly gives character to a city, it is the distinctive buildings. In City Skylines 1, these are called unique buildings, and in City Skylines 2, they are called signature buildings. In City Skylines 1, they act as landmarks and decorations, while in City Skylines 2, they have actual functions. They may provide jobs or work as residential buildings. Every district should have one central element. This can be a stadium, a library, an iconic parking building, a museum, or even a skyscraper. In City Skylines 1 has over 500 unique buildings if you include all DLCs and content creator packs. These buildings do not only decorate, they inspire the development of the surrounding neighborhood. For example, around the park, restaurants and pedestrian streets fit well. So always think in concepts, give each district in a central idea, and it becomes much easier to decide how to build the rest around it. And finally, tip number 10, the most radical, dezoning, meaning removing the zone. If nothing else helps, tear it down and start again. You don't have to destroy the entire city, but it may be worth completely rethinking one district. After dezoning, you can redesign a new center, a new road layouts, and select which buildings are worth keeping. Rebuild the area gradually, district by district or street by street. Do not cause a sudden change in city traffic or the economy. The main point is, do not be afraid to start again, because a more beautiful and livable city will always be worth to work. Thank you very much for watching this video. These were my tips on how to repair a ruined city. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to stay with me for the next one as well. There is much more to explore, build and shape together. And if you would like to support the channel, you can subscribe. It really helps the journey continue. Until the next episode, have a nice week and enjoy city building.